Hey girls, I'm feeling kind of weird and angsty today. I don't know if it's because I haven't eaten yet. Maybe I need to go eat lunch. Or if it's just like the hellscape of the world, but here we are. This is gonna be a kind of long video, so scroll away if you're like not down to vibe. Also, the hair's looking strange, but whatever. So I saw the Shrek films for the first time, and I wrote this very brief reaction piece on Substack called "The Subversive Wisdom of Shrek." And the thing that I was trying to get at is that I'm like really fascinated by the concept of ugliness and what ugliness means in our culture. My best friend, who is the content creator I Understood, has written about this quite often, like the concepts of beauty, like inclusive beauty, and how it's like a complete illusion, and how it often just like reaffirms its own logic when it brings in models who might be of a minority group but still like bone thin, embracing the societal beauty standard while claiming to be like progressive and inclusive. And I think the reason I liked these films is because there's kind of like this through current throughout of, I don't want to go so far as to say like anarchism, but a kind of leftist, anti-establishment, anti-system vibe. I don't know how I never saw these as a kid. Like I vaguely remember when I was very young seeing like a portion of one of them, but apparently I was just not vibing, not a cool girl yet. And one of the things I also like about the films is that they critique capitalism. They even like say the words like capitalism is bad. They critique police brutality, obviously like through the lens of these fantastical like storybook type characters, and it's a very eclectic, high comedy, slapstick humor. But I think that a very effective mechanism of resistance is through that type of performance, like putting in like little secret jabs to the system that you're, satirizing or critiquing. And there was something too about the self-sufficiency of Shrek. I'm sure people are like, is this guy really philosophizing about Shrek? But I just felt that Shrek is like so emblematic of like what life could be. Like where you like take care of your own land, and like obviously like Shrek is like not as like maybe naturally compassionate or like community centric as I would want, and like I'm definitely not like an individualism girly, like I'm a collectivist through and through. But there's something so like anti-city, anti-consumerism about Shrek that was like really really appealing. In particular, I think maybe my strongest observation, or maybe I should say like the observation that feels clearest in my mind, is the distinction between beauty and ugliness as like abstract concepts that aren't, in my opinion, actually real. Like they're so informed by all sorts of biases and prejudices that are taught to us as we're children. Like you'll notice this when kids like don't even have the concept of like what is considered ugly, what's considered bad, what's considered good. But then through media, through films, through popular entertainment, through our parents, through our friends, through school, we get like these reified messages of, especially when it comes to race, that like this is like the white supremacist project, right? Like always like associating white with like light and goodness and daintiness and innocence, and associating like blackness and darkness with like bad and evil and not good. There are so many scholars who have written about this way more thoughtfully than I could like approach in a TikTok video. Especially about the like way that monsters in films often draw characteristics from persecuted minority groups. It's kind of the same way that like villains are always queer coded, It's like the bad or like big bad thing in the narrative is often a refracted amalgamation of the like societal fears in the real world, right? Because obviously like humans are creating these things, and so just like in the way that AI has like intense bias because it's man-made, like so do the stories that we consume. And this is how prejudices and stereotypes and all of these harmful things get what's the word, encoded into like our popular imagination. So one of the things that I feel like the film tried to tackle was the concept of ugliness, like who like and the base concept that ugly people don't deserve love. And that is not like a radical thing to say. It's something I don't believe that. I'm saying that that's not a radical thing to say that the society says. The society tells us that every single day, whatever characteristics that it deems as ugly, in this case Shrek, someone who is, smelly, large, all these different things, the society tells you that you don't get to have love, you don't get to have true love's kiss, you don't get to be rescued, you don't get to have your happily ever after unless you are beautiful, unless you subscribe to the white supremacist, Eurocentric norms of beauty, that you are svelte, that you are light-skinned, that you have muscles or large breasts or whatever it might be. And the film tackles this harmful notion that we are shoved, that are just like shoved down us every single day with like all the media we consume, by saying that it's much better to just love someone regardless of what they look like. And that while it's kind of trite at this point, like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like Fiona is beautiful to Shrek and Shrek is beautiful to Fiona because their standard of ugliness is different than ours. And I would argue that like thereby the concept of ugliness doesn't exist as but in the abstract as a placeholder for prejudice. Ugliness is essentially then just a way to subscribe or ascribe to something that says that doesn't deserve to be happy, that doesn't deserve love, that doesn't deserve XXX, whatever the society in this, current point deems as valuable. So in this storybook world, the most valuable thing, is not money, fame, because it's not like, it is a capitalist society. It's like a refracted framework, but the most valuable thing in the Shrek universe is true love's kiss, like finding true love. You could argue that in our society, that is one of the most valuable things, but I would argue the society we live in is predominantly driven by money, capital, and profit. It's kind of like an inverse thing where that is one of the elements in Shrek, but like the predominant element in Shrek is like finding your happily ever after. For some reason, like people have like economic resources that's never really discussed. Like I guess like Shrek had an inheritance. I don't know how he got his plot of land, but maybe he just, went out and was like, that's my treat. But what I appreciate is that this film tackles this notion of ugliness, one, by like negating its value. And two, I feel like in the second Shrek film, it like expands on this notion when he can take this potion to be like what is stereotypically considered beautiful, because Shrek thinks like, oh, Fiona deserves a true Prince Charming. And when she has the option to be with him in that form forever, she says, no, I want to be with the ogre I married. I think that this goes beyond like self-love, love, and acceptance, and goes a step further into saying that like, it's not that you're accepting this ugly form, it's that you're saying that ugly form isn't ugly at all. You're saying that it's beautiful. You're saying that that is beautiful to you. And it's rejecting the societal notion that ugliness is somehow not valuable, that ugliness can't be associated with beauty, love, family, joy, connection, community, achievement, success, all of these things. And so I like these films because they're philosophical in this way. Now, the films obviously aren't perfect. They're literally like children's cartoons. But I do feel that they explore this concept of ugliness, and they also briefly touch on like ways that societies systemically exploit and manipulate their citizenry on like the tactics, on the ideologies, on the like ontologies of evil and fear, and in order to manipulate them into a violence that serves the ruling class. Anywho, just some thoughts.